Well, signature. Um, what else? Well, you've got the mailman. He's certainly a witness. You've got my mother. She did the Pell Grant information in the applications. Um, Griselda's dead.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Who asked you to forge it?
That was done for the cartel. That was done for Griselda.
The cartels are involved in forging his birth certificate. Is that to protect him or cover him up?
No, that was just simply to get him in there more than 2 years. Get him into college.
I'm an investigator, so I'm going to ask questions. When did you forge it? What was the date?
It had to have been in 1985, and it was after I had taken a business course for business law, because that's where the information came from. The instructor did not know that he was passing on this information to be used, and that it was going to be used the way it was, of course.
Right.
But it was after a business law course. David Nixon.
Well, you certainly got a lot of information. I'll tell you what. I'm going to be doing a radio show tonight. I know you listen in. So I have to run in the next 10 minutes. So, Nancy, why don't you send me an email to mike@where'sobama's.com, or you can get the contact me form. Lay it all out. If you've got it, Nancy, I'm going to run with this, because I'm going to be in Congress in 2 weeks. I'm going back. I'm not taking no for an answer. And whatever you got, I'll pass on to the Sheriff's Department. I'll look at it. I'll bring it to Congress. I'll try to figure out what's what and who's who.
All right, well, let me lay it out for you. Now, it was done for the Medellin cartel, and he's definitely a Manchurian candidate. There's no question about it. Pablo Escobar figured that, and rightfully so, he was very accurate on a lot of things, that so anyway, Joseph P. D'Alessandro was the former Florida State attorney. He had control over Pablo's drug territory. He supposedly, and I'm sure I'm repeating what you already know, he supposedly I've been told that he was either a sister or a cousin of Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi. And so the it's pathetically simple, the motivation and the ease for which this has happened, which is, because I did kidnap 2 boys in South Florida. I was a part of the Hoffa contract kill, which happened in Daytona Beach. Reagan's second shooter, Pablo himself, I killed him in 1990. Okay, Bill Clinton's claim to 1993 is just a load of BS. So you have a lot of people in the White House, which I'm sure you've already figured this out. They're not interested in exposing this, because they're going to expose themselves. And if they even do go so far as exposing it, I know exactly what direction the finger is going to be pointing at. This is not my first rodeo. I've been here before. So.
Okay. Let me ask you a couple more questions.
Sure, go ahead. I got all day.
Okay. Do you know the identity of his parents?
The only thing, what I can tell you is that I didn't even know he existed until I think I was between the ages of 12, 13, 14. The Hawaiian lei around his neck was a party favor, and that was from a party that was given by Ida Delgado and it was on Ventura Avenue in Clewiston. So it was, it was his party. It was a piñata party. And this was the first time I even knew that he existed, because this is where my mother, Gladys, she said to me, he was there at the party, and I grew up next to the Delgados, and of course, you know, Popeye did the bombing of, I think it's La Bianca Plain in South or Central America, because, you know, I'm getting a little bit off. Pablo was solidifying drug territories everywhere. He had a solid hold. Well, I shouldn't say solid, but he had a pretty good hold on Clewiston. So anyway, the first time I knew about, and I call him Alan because that's his middle name. The first time I knew about him was at this piñata party, and my mother introduced me, and she said, "This is your half brother." And I remember, yeah, it was during, you know, pool season, and that's why I was wearing that little shirt with, you know, with the anyway, getting off subject here. So she said, "This is your brother," and I was like, okay, you know, it's not every day you're introduced to a brother, a new brother. And also because, you know, he obviously is not white, it was definitely a shock. And it was. She told me that this was my father's son, that my father, Thomas B. Owens Sr., had gotten, we had a maid, her name was Pearl, and she had a daughter, and I'm just trying to rack my brains and remember what the daughter's name was. The only one I ever met was Pearl. Well, I met the daughter a couple of times, but I met Pearl like 2 or 3 times a week. So her name is pretty, you know, it's very solid. That my father had gotten Pearl's daughter pregnant. Now, I'm thinking that it's a possibility that Alan was born in Clewiston, but more than likely it's something to do with, it's Arizona, which leaves, because he and LaQuica came from Arizona at this time of the party. That's what I was told. Anyway, the thing that what I was told was that he was getting of an age where he had been with a doctor, and I just, all these years I had been thinking it was a black doctor, but now I'm starting to ask myself, well, you know, maybe I'm thinking totally wrong, that it may have been an Asian doctor. I really don't know on that one.
Okay.
So he...
Nancy, let me ask you a couple more questions before I have to cut you off, because I have to get ready. Let's see. If I remember correctly, didn't you report this to the FBI there in Florida?
Oh yeah, yeah. There were, you know, there's been attempts throughout the years to get this out, but see, Sermon Dias was very good about keeping things under wraps, and he had D'Alessandro to back him up. D'Alessandro himself had other people as a backup. I mean, this was, you know, this thing was pretty well fixed by 1979.
Okay. One more thing, Nancy. You know, there's a bunch of robots out there that are constantly trying to trash us and give disinformation. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Do you know the identity of any of them?
No. Okay. That's a good question, though. I never really thought about it.
Yeah, because if we can find identity, then maybe we can trace this back to where everything's coming from.
Yeah, I have no way of knowing. I mean, I have no way of searching that, but again, it's not something I've ever really thought about, so...
Okay. Okay, Nancy, this is what I want you to do. Why don't you send me everything we just talked about in a summary in an email?
Okay. Well,
and I'll look at it.
Okay. So do you want me to call it the radio show tonight?
Well, we're going to have a different topic. It's going to be about an investigative reporter that's working on this, but you can certainly go in the chat room like you do, and maybe I could schedule a show with you one night.
All right, let me ask you, is Mike Zulu's real name Mike Moore?
Yes.
Holy shit. Really?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay. He looks like it. He's aged very well. So I was really thinking that maybe he was an actor. But, you know, Mike Moore has certain, you know, movements and way of talking and mentality that, you know, this guy, if he was, I was thinking, you know, if he's an actor, God knows he is dead on. I mean, there's no way to, it's like, so bottom line, he's aged very well. I didn't think, yeah, so I know who Mike Moore is. Mike Moore was the investigator out of Henry County. Of course, he knows me because I was a sheriff's dispatcher the night Sermon Dice Sr. was murdered, and I did have a part in that, and I have absolutely no qualms about telling anybody. I don't care. The man was garbage. So.
Okay. Hey, Nancy, I got to get ready for the show. I got to take care of a couple of things. So.
Is the show coming? Is it coming on now?
What's that?
Is the show coming on now?
No, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Okay. All right. Got you.
I did. Are you in my email address book? So I send you alerts?
Hang on just a minute.
If not, if you send it to Mike@where'sobama's.com, you will be, and I'll send you alerts from that one.
Okay. All right. So can I ask you something? Are you really in that much of a hurry?
I have another 2 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. Just why did Mike Moore decide to do this now? Why did he wait all these years before? I mean, is it just because my brother has climbed to the top and he decides that, you know, now it's time to do something? Why did he wait?
No. You know, there was no birth certificate till April 27, 2011. There was no birth certificate from Hawaii. There were 3 certificate of live births that were forgeries. And then when that came out, that was presented on the White House website. So now we have something to work on. We never had a document before that we can examine and take apart. And that's why. I mean,
okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Mike Moore knows who Alan is. Mike Moore knows that he spent some time in and around Clewiston. Mike Moore didn't do anything then. Why is he choosing to step up to be #1 investigator now?
Because that's his job. He was, and it was handed to him, and he had to take it over.
Okay, 33 years later, you're going to investigate and pull this thing together. And that's who y'all got as a lead investigator.
I really don't have an answer for that. Well, there was no reason to investigate it before. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. The reasoning now is much stronger than before. Before, we really didn't. I mean, yes, he was in the limelight a little bit, community organizer, all that. And I really can't answer that. Besides
okay, if Mike Moore was not a true investigator in the 1980s when all of this was going on now, why does Mike Moore decide to step up and be an investigator now? Isn't it a little bit too late?
No, that's his job. That was his title before.
So why wait?
I don't know. Good question.
Pablo Escobar built a palace no more than 2 miles away from the substation where Mike Moore worked. There were murders, you know, constantly going on. Why does Mike Moore want to step up now and play hero?
That's a great question. Nancy, put that in an email and contact me, okay? And I will get back to you.
All right.
Have a good night.
You too.